Welcome everybody to the City of Joliet Council meeting. It's Tuesday, March 21st, 2023 here in the council chambers at 6:30. Mayor Oderkirk will be presiding. The invocation will be given by Pastor Jacob Garcia of Crossroads Christian Church, 2312 Essington Road. Welcome.
Let's start with the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow with me for a word of prayer. God, we come before you today and we ask a blessing on everything that is put before us. I pray for these leaders and these community members as they gather to make decisions for this great city of Joliet. May they use their skill and their judgment, and may they do their best to be impartial and neutral as they consider each matter that is placed before them. And today we ask your blessing on all that are here and for the city of Joliet. We also ask a blessing on this meeting and for our mayor and for all of our city officials. What I ask today is that you would give them wisdom to lead, a hunger for justice, and the ability to collaborate and cooperate with one another. God, I pray a blessing on the agenda set before us and for the city of Joliet. And we thank you for the leadership of all the men and women that are here before us today. We pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Oh, have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll begin with roll call. Mayor Oderkirk.
Here.
Councilman Clement.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Here.
Councilman Guerrero.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Mudrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Here.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Here.
First is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Motion carried. Citizens to be heard on agenda items. First is Susan Van Landingham regarding Council Memo 130-23.
Hi, I'm here on behalf of the citizens of the 800 block of Cora to ask for permit parking for our citizens on the block, simply because we have Ruby Street, which has a lot of fine businesses, and some of them are doing very well, which is wonderful, but it is not should not be expected of the citizens to make up the difference for what how well the companies are doing. It should not be up to the citizens to have to not be able to park in front of our own homes, because the businesses on Cora expect to be able to park their vehicles in front of our homes. It's not just one business that's doing this. There are a few of them. Central Muffler, the Mercado, and you know, there's right down, if something moves into where ABC was, they were doing it also, where they come park their vehicles, leave them there all day, and then go on with their business and then come and move them later. With the muffler shop, there's actually times that they've left the cars overnight so that they don't have to move them back down to their business. And to us, that's kind of unacceptable. As you know, these homes were built long ago. And at the time, yes, most homes either didn't have cars or only had one vehicle per. We all know life has changed for all of us. We all know now almost everybody in the household, if they're of age, has their own car. And in our area, there is not a lot of off-street parking. We don't have garages filled with junk. Some of us don't even have garages. And there's no place to park. So when these businesses encroach on the parking, then it becomes a problem for us as citizens that pay our taxes. There's also the issue of parking illegally on Cora Street, which is specific to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It does happen during the week with delivery trucks that they park on the east side of the street, which is labeled no parking, no standing. But we do it, it's done very often. And it's very difficult to get on and off Ruby Street safely without wrecking your car. And there's a lot of honking, there's a lot of, people yelling at each other, there's a lot of issues with the business in the area. I do know at the time there were businesses for sale, and it was decided not to purchase the business to use for additional parking. That's not a citizen problem. That's a personal problem of the people who are businesses down there. If their businesses are doing that well, which obviously they are, maybe they can relocate into another area further up the street or somewhere where there is visible parking that they could use. It's not difficult to understand how the citizens are upset by this. It's not fair that we have to put up with this. When we do call the police, we're given somewhat of a runaround. We had an officer come up. There's officers that do fine jobs that come up and give the tickets and do what they're supposed to do. And there's others that will sit behind the cars and wait until they move, then go into the store, have lunch, come back out and leave. It's just not fair to us that we have to put up with these difficulties. And it's difficult now in the wintertime. Can you imagine what it is in the summertime? There's signs already there and they're not being followed. And we just need help. We need help with keeping the people parked where they're supposed to be parked, and not taking up our valuable spaces that the people who live there deserve to have. There's families there with children. If you have parking on both sides of the street, it could happen like it did. Elizabeth has, which is one street over, has parking on both sides of the street. There was a 4-year-old child killed there. We don't want that same effect to happen on Cora Street. We're a very diverse neighborhood. There's families with children, then there's families like mine. I'm old. We don't have children, but I have grandchildren.
Thank you.
Tamara Barnes regarding Council Memo 130-23.
Hello, once again. I showed you guys all of the photos, hopefully that they were knowledgeable for you guys. I'm here today to read a letter from Robert Kaufman. He resides at 813 Cora Street. Okay, to whom it may concern, recently there was an incident on the 800 block of Cora Street that exemplifies the unsafe traffic situation that has been ongoing for years. A resident of the 800 block, Carol Johnson, fell while walking her dog at the northwest corner of Ruby Street and Cora Street in front of the supermarket. An ambulance was called because Carol had struck her head and was a bit dizzy. When the ambulance arrived, it could not turn onto Cora Street to tend to Carol because there were cars parked illegally on the east side of Cora Street that was posted no parking. And other cars were stopped, completely blocking Cora Street, waiting to pull into the supermarket. The minutes that were so delayed could have really, really been avoided. So we're just basically here to see if we can get permit parking on the 800 block of Cora Street. Any questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Liz Lopez, Council Memo 130-23.
Good afternoon. I'm here to read a letter my father wrote, and I'll be reading it on his behalf. He, when I say I'm talking about him. But I had an accident on March 22nd last year. I tried to go pick up my kids from school, exiting the alleyway. I was careful trying to get out, spending more than 10 minutes waiting for a clearing to turn left, east side on Ruby. There was a long line of cars parked on Ruby and the delivery truck on that same side that obstructed the view. Let's see. When I thought it was clear, I even beeped, and as I was exiting, I was T-boned by a small car going fast. it's almost impossible to leave the alleyway between Cora and Center Street. And or at least to do it safely, especially due to the delivery trucks obstructing the view. Ever since the accident, I've spent around $4,000 on damages to my truck. There's nights where I can't sleep from from the accident and the stress from the truck and the cost of its damages. It's difficult to exit our own streets because of this. Some of our neighbors tried using cones to help with the car is parked illegally, but they are just run over by customers. And they're not respecting private property. So, and I believe that with permits, it could help with safety issues because of that. Thank you for listening and for coming up with solutions for the problem.
Thank you.
Glenn Conklin? Okay. Ray Monroe? Okay. Ken Carlson?
Good evening. Ken Carlson with Tracy Law Firm. Paul Lordson is here. Our Assistant Executive Director is here. A number of board members are here. If you have any questions regarding the Stepping Stones project, we're here to try to answer those questions for you, and we'll be here throughout the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on an agenda item this evening?
Come forward, please.
I would like to talk about the Coral Street issue. And just want to say, I'm glad today I heard that.
Sir, can you give me your name and address, please?
My name is Artemio Reyes. I'm one of the owners of the grocery store.
Thank you.
On the corner of Cora and Ruby Street. And I'm glad that's the first time they say it's not only us. Before all the time they were saying it was just us. Now they're talking about the muffler shop, other businesses too. I'm here, and I think we are the only businesses that are trying to fix the problem, to get a solution for the problem. And I'm just gonna ask the city and them, if the issue is that the customers are parking in places and that is causing traffic hazards, how does further restrictions, that means reducing the number of parking spots, alleviate the issue? Common sense says reducing the number of parking spots does not fix a lack of parking problem. I'm still here saying that making this residential parking only is going to fix the problem. It's going to create another one. Maybe the people parking there is going to park now on Center Street, Elizabeth Street, or Ruby Street, causing the same problem. So this is not going to fix the problem. The city needs to work on something else. That is all.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak on an agenda item? Seeing none, we'll move on to council committee reports. First is Finance Committee report.
The Finance Committee met today, Tuesday, March 21st, 5:30 p.m. in the council chambers. Present were myself, Councilman Clement, and Councilwoman Reardon. We began with approval of minutes from our previous meeting, February 21st, 2023. And we had only two agenda items on our meeting. The first was a resolution approving amendments to the City of Joliet investment policy. This just made some changes allowing us to get a letter of credit from the Federal Homeland Program, which gives us better terms than what we were receiving previously, and cleaning up some policy point which doesn't appear to be very common elsewhere, and so we removed the ability for banks to purchase City of Joliet bonds and then to use those as collateral. Our second agenda item was an authorization of IMRF out-of-state credit. Essentially, we have a city employee who is just transferring over past credits from his employment with the state of Ohio. We moved on to our financial reports. Not too much to report this early in the year. Everything kind of is on pace with what we expected. And our general fund revenues are up by almost $5 million, of which $3 million came in from gaming revenue. All revenue categories are up for the year 2023, except for income tax, permits, licenses, and grant proceeds. With the note on that saying the Illinois Department of Revenue is estimating a 4% decrease in income tax. Overall, expenses were on target and tracked with our budget for the year. More specifically, sewer and water revenues are tracking slightly better than budget estimates and are up 26% over last year. Expenses are also on target, but we are expecting some larger expenses to come later this year. Just a few more notes. There was a question about the vehicle replacement fund. The bond for said fund has an outstanding $3 million, which is scheduled to be retired in 2030. We are collecting at this time about $2 million a year. So the annual principal and interest at $431,000, and we are able to purchase the vehicles with the remainder. Another note here, we've working with the Historical Society, the library, and the Rialto to provide quarterly reports. Previously this has been a bit of an issue when we come to our annual budget, and so we think that this system will just expedite the process, make things a little bit more efficient so that we can get reports on a quarterly basis and sort of track their performance. Of note, we should mention that in January 2023, the Historical Society saw an improvement of 110% increase, and that's in terms of attendance. I have the note for that here. So that's through admissions that happened in January of 2023 compared to January of 2022. And that is even considering the fact that they were closed for 2 weeks. So they're on a very good trend, and we're expecting them to do quite well through the rest of the year. And then this was just more of a housekeeping item for the Finance Committee itself. We're looking to adopt a new format for our monthly reports, which will allow us to kind of monitor our revenues and expenses on a monthly basis and be able to project how we're doing on pace for the remainder of the year. So, Councilman Clement, Councilman Reardon, is there anything like that?
No, thank you.
Good job.
That would be my report.
Thank you.
Land Use and Legislative Committee report.
Yes, the Land Use and Legislative Committee, we met Monday, March the 13th here in the council chamber. We being myself, Councilman Clement, and Councilwoman Quillman. We met here at 4 p.m. We had a couple agenda items, and they both is up for consideration this evening. That's item 134 and 135. And this has something to do with our water utility billing. Both items did. The first item of the utility, the procedure for the utility billing procedures, and Councilman Clement had brought this to the attention of the council as well as the staff. And it was to extend the amount of time residents have to pay their bills before a late fee is applied. I guess in the past, it was kind of like overlapping, where when they would get the bill, if it was due to the mail service or whatnot. So with the current mail service, residents had less than like 15 days notice to pay their utility bills before a late fee was charged. The new ordinance that is up for consideration this evening gives our residents almost 30 days until a late fee is charged. The ordinance states that bills are now due 20 days from when they are mailed. So this ordinance also gives customers a 10-day grace period before penalties are applied, meaning that the bill is due on the 10th of the month, and penalties would not be assessed until like the 21st of that month. And basically staff had kind of said it was kind of similar to your car loan where, you know, there's a 10-day grace period before penalties or the late fee is applied to the bill. So this will give our residents a little a leeway or a little way of kind of staying current. And again, we like to thank Councilman Clement for bringing this to attention. Some residents had contacted him, and staff got right on it and came up with this solution to that. The next agenda item kind of had two parts to it. And basically, they're setting policy. In the past, payment plans for water bills was kind of done, you know, depending on the staff person that, you know, they talked to. They didn't have a policy in place. But now we do have a policy in place as far as your payment plan. And I know during the COVID, this council had voted or elected to not cut off people's water. So some people kind of let their bills kind of get out of hand, knowing that, you know, they didn't have to pay the bills. That's part of some of the issues. But this ordinance is modeled after some of our utility companies such as ComEd, NICOR, where they ask for 25% down. And that's what we would be doing, asking for 20% down, and the payment can be spread over a 12-month period or a 24-month period to give the person a chance to pay their past bill, and also, you know, of course, paying their current bill as it comes at this point. So if your bill is if it's like $1,500, this they're asking again 25% down. If you're and they give you the 12 months. But if it's over that, like if you have a larger bill, $4,000 or more, $4,500, I believe it is, it's give you 24 months to pay that down, and the payments, and still asking for the 25% down. So this again will help our residents, you know, kind of get current on their water bill, and whoever they talk to in the office, this would be policy, so that, you know, everyone would kind of be on the same page. The second part to this is, and I'm, even myself, and I'm sure my other council members have gotten calls with people with large bills due to leaks especially in the wintertime when your pipes freeze and break, or you have any other plumbing issues. And if this is for residential customers only, and if they have such thing that happened to them, they can reach out. This ordinance will allow them to, you know, for the city to offer them credit for their bills, and the city will monitor, you know, if the bills are like 2.5 times larger than it normally is, you know, and they can prove that there was a leak or that the leak had been repaired or some other plumbing issues, then the city, you know, then we can offer them a discount, like 1.5 of what their bill would normally have been because of the leak. But they have to have proof of this leak as well as the leak being repaired or the plumbing problem being repaired. But we're only allowing this to occur once every 36 months. So if they have this issue, and they can notify the city, and the city will discount the bill or credit the bill based on what their bill normally would be. It was a short meeting, but that was a lot. Did I miss anything, Joe? Or
If I can add just one thing, Councilwoman Coleman brought up, we're going to put an insert in the bills.
Right.
This is an important ordinance, and I don't think everybody in the city is going to be aware of the ordinance change. And Jan brought up, put an insert with the information in there in the water bill so everybody knows the ordinance change.
Right.
It'll be marked in red, so they don't throw it out, just think it's another ad, you know, informational.
Right. Thanks, Joe. Yep. Yeah. Thanks, Jan. That's all I got.
Thank
It's a
you.
good meeting.
Prison Committee report.
Yes, the prison committee met this afternoon here in the council chambers. Council members were Councilwoman Reardon and Councilman Guerrero and myself. We also had Greg Prevost here from the director of the museum, some staff and volunteers. Chris Regis was also in attendance. We had a discussion of the updates and events for 2023, and the director gave us some great statistics, some good statistics where the museum, and the prison itself is doing well. We talked about the construction and some bids that are going out for the stabilization of the prison. And so there are some construction bids out there. I think the deadline on those bills are April the 6th. He did report to us that $3.5 million grant was out there, also with a $3 million appropriation grant. Now, the appropriation grant we knew last year was coming in, but it's a year later, and we know how the wheels of government grind on that, so we're waiting for those appropriations to come. Also, there is a request. They went in and requested an additional $4 million for the stabilization of that. And so we are working and looking forward to hearing some good news from that. On April the 14th, circle your calendars. It's regional honors for the IMM Canal 175th anniversary. And so there's an event going on. So, mark your calendars. You might want to go down there for that, and the museum, as well as the prison. Information will be there. We also discussed a lease agreement, extending the lease agreement that we have now with the state, and right now that lease agreement we approved in committee today will go through December of 2023. And so we are there. Talks are still going on with the state regarding the prison and an extended lease. Did I get everything, Sherry?
Yes.
Caesar? Was that about it? Mm-hmm. Okay. That is the end of our report.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
Councilman Gavin, so if the lease is only extended to the 23 of this year.
At this time,
Yeah.
yes.
Are we going to be putting any more improvements over there? Because what if they say they're not going to extend the lease? Then we're just out, right?
We, from what we were told, the stabilization piece with the grants are still going. Mm-hmm. Ongoing talks for extending that lease are in progress right now, so we will see. There's a 3-tier plan that we have been in discussion with. So,
but my question is, are there going to be any improvements this year with that hanging in the balance in December? That's the next 6 months or 7 months.
According to what the construction bids that are out there, and that the deadline on those construction bids is for this year in April. So they come through. They have some monies there to do the stabilization. I don't think we're going to stop. Caesar, Sherry, I don't think they're stopping. They are continuing the plan.
Well, I just hope they keep the lease going.
Yes.
That's my thought. It's
that's all of
it's
our
like when you live in an apartment, and you do all those renovations, and then your landlord goes, I'm taking the place back.
Nah, I don't think they even want it back, but to tell you the truth. So,
okay,
residents, let's, prayer pastor, with the lead pastor, let's pray that we get this lease extension, and it'll be good for the city of Joliet. Absolutely.
So I would just add to that we kind of discussed that the further improvements that we do and the improvements that we've committed to already kind of put us in a better position to negotiate a long-term lease agreement, as we've kind of demonstrated to the state of Illinois our intention and our capacity to be able to maintain the property. So we're working towards a better negotiation but it's all, as the chairwoman said, it's all just very slow.
Yeah,
Good to know.
yeah.
Had to ask the question.
Absolutely. So they see the success we already have had. And so that puts, like Caesar said, that puts us in a better position. So we're hoping that we can get this to be a stellar place. I mean, the prison, has a negative connotation. And now you're redoing that. I think it'll be somewhat of a positive piece for Joliet and its residents. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Public Service Committee report.
Public Service Committee met yesterday here in the council chambers at 4:30 in the afternoon. On the committee in attendance was myself, Councilman Morris, and Councilwoman Gavin, as well as members of staff from both the Public Works and the Public Utilities Department. We had 10 contracts we looked at, some pretty routine contracts. We looked at all the bids for the 10 contract items. The ones I'll point out in a little bit of detail is a $2,079,000 award of contract for professional engineering services for a phase 3 portion of the Olympic Boulevard improvements, which is out there on what's known as the Cullinan Project at 55 and 80. So it has to do with the infrastructure that's needed out there as well as site access. And it needs to be done so that the state will continue its portion, which is the interchange off of 55. We looked at the contract for utilities restoration for $600,000. That's the money that will be spent on the utilities department, water and sewer, has to do a repair so they can restore the neighborhood's landscaping. We also looked at a contract for a landscape maintenance service for the utilities properties that are spread throughout the city. We looked at some equipment purchases, including 3 tandem axle rollers. Those are from Burris Equipment Company. That's used for street repairs by our staff. And, with our $18 million street repair budget, there's a lot going on and we need more equipment. We also looked at the purchase of a new chipper that will handle trees up to 15 inches in diameter should they be taken down and can be chipped. And of course, the city has an ongoing supply of mulch from the trees they chip at the city public works garages that's free to the public. A couple of zero-turn mowers. Those are just lawn mowers that can be doing the parkways and such, and they don't need any arc to turn. They just turn within themselves, more efficient. Excited that we're going to be ordering, or hopefully committing to order 20 new police vehicles from a company called Morrow Brothers. They will have 40 ready for delivery in the very near future, and they said as long as we approved an invoice and sent it to them, they would give half of their total to Joliet, or 20 vehicles. That's 20 of the 25 we ultimately want to have. And 2 hydraulic valve turning machines. I don't think anybody really wants to know what a valve turning machine does. It turns valves throughout the city when we have to shut off valves and so forth. So we looked at all 10 of the items, and they all met with the standards that are required legally, and all 10 were unanimously approved by all 3 members of the committee to send it here to the full council with our recommendation to approve all 10 contracts. We had no change order to pay estimates of final payments. Under ordinance and resolutions, we looked at one, which is an intergovernmental agreement with Kendall County, and that has to do with the construction of Ridge Road, which will be widened. Once Kendall County and Will County does the same thing. The intergovernmental agreement says that once Kendall County finishes the widening and all the infrastructure, then they turn it over to Joliet and we take ownership, and we are responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of that. It becomes a city road moving forward. And we looked at the yearly Wyland Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation. For those that may be interested in it, it's almost like a fun competition between communities. Different ways, if you go to the website, that you can conserve water, which is a good idea in any situation, but it also can save you money if you can conserve your water. So you can go look at what the Wyland Mayor's Challenge is at mywaterpledge.com. All one word, mywaterpledge.com. So you know, it's a good program to get people involved in water conservation. Then we looked at a permit for the Dunkin' Donut drive-through at 3201 Shanahan Road at the new gas and wash. And we also approved, this was internal housekeeping within the committee, we approved a multi-way stop at the intersection of McDonough Street and Tall Tree Lane, which had become increasingly dangerous at that T, and was just a T-bone waiting to happen. So we did address that. And that's pretty much what we had on our agenda, folks. Did I miss anything, Terry or Betty?
No, I think you covered everything, sir.
Exciting things always.
I'm excited about the cars.
There you go. Yes, I am about the police cars. So with that said, if we have nothing else to add, that will be my report, Mayor. Thank you.
I show no other reports. Under consent agenda, approval of the minutes. It's recommended the minutes of the pre-council meeting held on March 6th, the minutes of the council meeting held on March 7th, and the minutes of the special meeting held on March 13th, 2023 stand approved as recorded. Invoices paid report. It's recommended this report be received and placed on file. Council Memo 113-23 regular payroll for January 13th through January 26th, 2023, $3,741,125.57. Council Memo 114-23 regular payroll for January 27th through February 9th, 2023, $3,683,107.86. It's recommended said regular payrolls be approved. Council Memo 115-23 IMRF out-of-state credit authorization. It's recommended the credit authorization be approved. Council Memo 116-23 award of contract for the Well 25D replacement medium voltage starter purchase to Elliott Electric in the amount of $54,950. Council Memo 117-23 award of contract for purchase of uninterruptible power supply materials to Traffic Control Corporation in the amount of $72,910. Council Memo 118-23 professional services agreement for the plant operations SCADA support to Wunderlich Malik Environmental in the amount of $60,000. Council Memo 119-23 professional service agreement for the 2023 sanitary sewer investigation and rehabilitation program to RJN Group in the amount of $483,625. Council Memo 120-23 professional service agreement for the 2023 annual service agreement for sewer system monitoring to Xylem View in the amount of $50,339. Council Memo 121-23, request to approve the purchase of 2 new fire apparatus not to exceed $1.1 million each. Council Memo 122-23, purchase of 12 new vehicles for the Public Utilities Department from various dealers in the amount of $714,791. Council Memo 123-23, purchase of 20 police pursuit vehicles from Morrow Brothers Ford in the amount of $813,400. Council Memo 124-23, change order number 1 for the Curtis Avenue 2021 roadway improvement project to PT Farrow Construction in the amount of $14,681.74, and payment request number 4 and final in the amount of $42,634.57. Council Memo 125-23, payment request number 4 and final for the Harwood Street 2021 roadway improvement project to Austin Tyler Construction in the amount of $24,492.48. Council Memo 126-23, CDBG subrecipient agreement with Spanish Community Center, NFP up to $100,000. It's recommended Council Memos 116-23 through 126-23 be approved. Is there a motion to approve all said consent agenda items?
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
I believe we have a check presentation at this time.
So as we've done with all of our CDBG check recipients this year, we're presenting them with a check so we can help elevate and let everybody know what good stuff the Community Development Block Grant does in the city of Joliet. Today, we're presenting a check to the Spanish Community Center for $100,000. This $100,000 is going to go to resurface their parking lot. This is important to Spanish Community Center and the residents of Joliet because Spanish Community Center provides early childhood, preschool, legal services, counseling services, education services, all of those types of things. And most importantly, they help serve over 8,000 Joliet residents every year on their parking lot at their food pantry. So here is their check, and then I'm gonna have them go up there and we'll take a picture again too. So can we get a picture this time too? But this time we'll go center. And then,
You want us down or stay up here? What's your,
whatever you wish.
what's your, I don't know.
I guess we need to
Stand
Stay
by
with
there.
them, sure.
I guess if I turn this way, they could get it a little bit better.
Next, under public hearings, Council Memo 128-23, a public hearing approving the ordinance for vacation of a 10-foot wide landscape easement and 30-foot wide public utility and drainage easement located at 3050 Ring Road. This is a public hearing, so comments would be in order at this time.
Would anyone like to speak on this item?
Seeing none, let the record show the hearing is now closed. Is there a motion to approve Council Memo 128-23, an ordinance for vacation of a 10-foot wide landscape easement and a 30-foot wide public utility and drainage easement located at 3050 Ring Road?
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Motion carried. Moving on, under ordinances, Council Memo 130-23, an ordinance authorizing a residential parking permit program for the 800 block of Cora Street. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
Mayor,
Yes.
if I just make a couple comments, this grocery store is there and other businesses, it's very congested over there from the time that the grocery store moved in. They're very successful. We're happy that you're here and the other businesses, but it's very congested over there. I think what we're trying to do is come up with some sort of plan to where the residents have somewhere to park. They only have there is no off-street parking, so they have to park in front of the house. There's nowhere for these residents to park, and that's what this is geared towards. So those are my comments.
If I can follow up, I agree, Councilman. Jim and staff, I think Mr. Reyes did raise a good point. This may take the cars off of Cora Street. Where are they going to go to park to access these businesses?
Yeah, I mean, it'll push them. I would imagine either people will, it'll probably negatively impact this business in terms of people not being able to find a parking spot, and not willing to walk, or will have to park further down and spread that through the neighborhood. But, I don't have any traffic studies to support any of those theories. So clearly, if those cars would have to park somewhere else. So.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, going back and looking at this, the neighborhood grocery stores are a thing of the past. And this gentleman here turned a little neighborhood thing and he made it very, very successful. And, it's a catch-22 for him. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing. But I think maybe in the future, staff should look at these businesses and where they're going, especially if it's a residential neighborhood, for expansion, for parking for the future, so it doesn't hurt these businesses. Because that business was originally just a little hardware store. I used to change screens all the time. And, his success is hurting him. And it's hurting the neighbors that have lived there forever. And it's just a catch-22 here. So I would hope that somehow maybe we could find a better place for him to be in the future with better parking, or maybe somebody will sell a piece of property so that they can move there and so they can use it for parking. I mean, there's a history there. It's hurting both. It's the neighbors and the business people as well. So in the future, I hope staff would reconsider these, where they're gonna put these businesses, because we want them to succeed.
Yes.
We heard from some of the residents earlier today, and there are already signs in the area that are designating that street as for no parking there. And so what I'm hearing from that is what we need in this case is enforcement of the laws that are already in place. So I'm hesitant to approve residential parking permit if the ordinances for parking in that area are already not being enforced. Then I don't think that this would be the right solution. I think we'll probably just end up with more frustration that if this ordinance passes, that it's not being implemented, that it's not being enforced. I think perhaps a consideration, a compromise might be to limit the parking available there on the street to a time limit, but not necessarily making it altogether residential parking. To say, parking for the business is allowed for a 30-minute limit, and then try to enforce that as well as we can, and see how successful that might be before we move to the conclusion of making it altogether residential parking.
The other part to that, if I may, I was down there on Sunday and driving up and down Ruby Street, and Ruby Street was packed. But also, people need to follow the rules. And folks are stopped in the no stopping zone. I mean, this is not even on court, this is on Ruby, where you're not supposed to park, standing, no parking, deliveries, blah, blah, blah. They park there, they put their flashers on, and then they go in the grocery store. That's an abuse of what's been going on, but we cannot have a full-time policeman down there enforcing all this. But maybe if we could do it for a while so that they would get the tickets, maybe customers would follow the rules. I don't know what the answer is to this. It's just a mess, and we're trying to come to some solutions, and we haven't been able to come up with anything except the no parking, because, the residents have been there first, okay? So we need to tend to them, but we also need to help the business. But also the customers need to be considerate as well. It's a dangerous area.
Well, I would say again that brings us back to the point of are the existing ordinances being enforced right there in that area of Ruby Street? And if there are already no parking zones where people are violating those rules, then maybe we should make a commitment to, again, be able to enforce that strictly for some time. So as you said, so that people get the message, see if that alleviates the problem, and kind of move from there. But again, so ultimately it will be to the rest of the council to decide how this moves forward. I think I've made it very clear to all my colleagues here the way I feel about this. But if it does pass, then I hope I'm wrong. I hope that it does alleviate the situation. I hope that it does help people. But again, I don't think that this is the best route forward.
I tend to agree, if I may, Your Honor.
Yes.
I tend to agree with the councilman. It's going to open up a whole different can of worms. And I don't think that the resources that we have with the police department, I don't think that will tie them up all day to get down there and start issuing tickets. It doesn't take a person long to figure out, okay, if I go down there and put my flashes on, I'm getting a ticket. And next week, I'm not going to go there and do the same thing. Ruby Street is a unique animal by itself in terms of the congestion and the traffic that goes there. But to be able to now restrict that and not enforce the ordinance that we already have on the books is just opening up another can of worms for us. So, I tend to agree with my colleague here that we got to find another solution for this. But that's my 2 cents.
Mayor,
Yes.
what if we tried this ordinance for like 60 to 90 days and see how that works? And then we can always go back to another plan. And why don't we just try it to see so it's not something permanent? And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't know. I'm just trying to find some compromise here with everybody. It's a tough spot for everybody.
Yeah,
The
it's
residents,
really
for
tough.
us, and for the business owner.
Mayor.
Business.
But the residents, been
Yeah,
there the longest.
Oh, I'm sorry. Not to
Squatters'
keep going
rights.
on and on. I respect everybody's opinions and comments. The residents need somewhere to park. Let's give it a chance. If it turns into a disaster, then we'll do something else. I just think they have nowhere to park. Numerous people signed a petition asking us to do this. I respect the businesses there. It's very congested, but we're talking about where the residents can park. Is it going to cause a problem for patrons of the businesses? We don't know that 100%. It hasn't passed yet. So I'm looking to, move this forward if we can, if it passes.
And we can always revisit, like I said.
Again, I respect everybody's comments over here, so.
Is there a motion to approve Council Memo 130-23, an ordinance authorizing a residential parking permit program for the 800 block of Cora Street?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Hogg?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Mudron?
I agree with the owner that we're just moving the problem. I agree with some of the other council that says that maybe we, the city, haven't looked far enough into this. I know we, the city, haven't come up with a specific plan for whether there is a cost or isn't a cost for the permit. How many permits are going to be given out? Are individuals on both sides of Cora Street going to be given a permit to park, but there's only parking on the one side? At the same note, I do agree that the residents were there first, have come to us and signed all the petitions. But I do think, as mentioned here, that this should be something that has to be monitored by us for the next 60, 90 days to see if it is working or can we come up with another solution. With that, I will vote aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
I'm going to say this, and I respect these residents because they have, all of their investments in their properties. And I understand from the business side of it as well. Now, Councilwoman brought up a thing. If we monitor this for the 60 or 90 days to see if we're making improvement, along with doing that, police department, let's get on top of the already existing ordinance. So hand in hand, we can work together with this. We'll come up with a plan. So having said all of that, I am going to vote aye, but I want to see some backup, some wraparound with this between the police department and the, with enforcing the ordinance we already have. So that's my say.
Councilman Guerrero?
I agree, as I mentioned, that we should be enforcing the existing ordinances, though from the perspective purely of a sort of a scientific study, you're now introducing a confounding variable because if there are improvements to the situation, we wouldn't know then if they're improvements from the parking permit or improvements from enforcing the existing ordinances. So I think it'll be a bit difficult to separate those two. Again, that's purely from the perspective of conducting a study. But again, I think I've made it clear my stance. I see we have the votes to approve it. So I hope it does work out. I hope it does function, but I will have to vote no.
Mayor, if I may add one more thing.
Yes.
I would ask also the owner of the business, if you could get your residents that come to shop there, your customers, let them know the situation, and we would appreciate if they would also comply. And, you know, put a little bit of the burden on you as well for your business. I know you don't want to have to police, but we're doing the best we can, and if we're gonna work together, then I think it's a give and take on both sides. So that would be my suggestion to you, sir.
Motion carried 7-1. Next is Council Memo 131-23, ordinances associated with 712 Landau Avenue. This includes an ordinance approving a variation of use to allow a 3-unit residence, an R4 multifamily residential use, in an R3 1 and 2 family residential zoning district located at 712 Landau Avenue, and an ordinance repealing a variation of use that allowed a frozen ice cream distribution center, a B3 general business use, in an R3 1 and 2 family residential zoning district located at 712 Landau Avenue. It's recommended said ordinances be adopted.
So moved. Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
No.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Motion carried 7-1. Council Memo 132-23, an ordinance approving a street name change for a portion of South Chicago Street to Eastern Avenue. It's recommended that ordinance be adopted.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, I know I had brought this up last night. I did get a chance to talk with one of the residents. I did try to speak to another resident, but they wasn't home. And I didn't get a chance to talk to Mr. Ruddy. So if I would like to, you know, talk to Mr. Ruddy again and at least share some of the concerns from the one resident that I did talk to of what the burden she felt that would be upon her with changing the street. She's been there most of her life on Chicago Street. Again, as I said last night, even before I-80 was put in. So I would move the table until I can speak with Mr. Ruddy.
I'll second that.
Would we like to table it to the April 3rd meeting?
Yes.
Okay. It's been motioned and seconded to table Council Memo 132-23, an ordinance approving a street name change for a portion of South Chicago Street to the April 3rd, 2023 council meeting. Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 132-23 is tabled to the April 3rd council meeting. Next is Council Memo 133-23, ordinances associated with the planned unit development of Stepping Stone subdivision. This includes an ordinance approving a preliminary planned unit development of Stepping Stones, an ordinance approving a final planned unit development of Stepping Stones, an ordinance approving a variation of use to allow an 8-unit substance use disorder treatment facility, an RB restricted business use in a B3 general business zoning district located at 1620 Plainfield Road, and an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow an 8-unit substance use disorder facility for women and women with children located at 1620 Plainfield Road. It's recommended said ordinances be adopted.
Mayor,
Yes.
I have some other questions for the folks that brought this forward.
Okay.
Please.
Good evening. Ken Carlson on behalf of Stepping Stones. Paul Lords and the executive director is also present.
Okay, a couple of things. This is still a very much safety issue for me. Now, do you know you have to have an ADA playground?
I would expect that, yes, we do.
Okay.
It's also going to be,
Sir, if you're speaking, step to the mic, please. They can't hear you at home otherwise.
My name is Bob Morris, Orbis Architects, the architect for the project. There's also requirements by DCFS to provide certain characteristics of outdoor play area there. So we're going to meet those requirements as well as ADA requirements.
Okay. My other question yesterday is I want to follow up on that was also the daycare. You're not going to have a daycare there.
we are not.
So here, again, this came up today. If you have people there, women from Chicago or Tinley Park or wherever surrounding areas, because you said they're not all going to be from Joliet, that the families would take care of those children. How are they going to do that if the mother's out working and they live out of town? Who's going to take care of those children when they're in treatment?
Well, we would be working with the residents to arrange their child care through resources here in the community.
And who's going to be watching them out in the playground?
The mothers are responsible for being with the kids when they're out on the playground.
But if the moms are in treatment, they won't be outside with the children in the playground.
Well, then the kids won't be in the playground.
Okay, set that aside. I still think it's a good place for that, for the kids. But my other point is, do you currently have funding for this?
We do.
Okay, because it was brought to my attention your funding was rescinded and you have to reapply.
No, we had a $2 million congressional grant from Congressman Foster. We have foundation pledges in an amount of about $500,000 to this point. And we would, of course, use our own reserves, and then if financing was necessary, whatever financing, but we expect to have raised the full amount by the time we are ready to.
So you don't have the full amount. What's the full amount that you need then?
It's about $3 million.
And you only have $2 million right now from Foster's office?
$2 million from Foster's office.
Right, but your other monies were reallocated. They were held them back.
Yeah, well, we were encouraged to reapply for those home funds for this as well going forward. So I've spoken with them.
But your original home funds were, you had to give
They
it back.
awarded those to someone else because of the time that
Because
it was
you didn't
taking
have
to
it,
get the
right.
project going. That's correct, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, I still don't like the location. I think it is a great program. It's needed, but I don't like the location. I still think it's a safety issue on my part, and that's
I
how I
respect
feel.
that, Councilwoman. I do. We're going to do everything we can do to make sure they're safe. We've been operating recovery homes and treatment services in Joliet for 50 years. There's all kinds of potential problems with that, and we feel like we are able to deal with whatever concerns may come up.
I would
with
also
value,
ask.
we believe the value of this for the children and the mothers that are going to benefit from the services outweigh the potential harms that could happen. I mean,
But we haven't had this in Joliet. This is the first one in Joliet, correct? That's what you said?
for women and children, that's
And we have no
correct.
statistics here.
We don't. We know of other places that are doing it that have had success with it. The primary one being the Seed Council down in Charleston, Illinois. They've been doing it since the 80s.
Now, are these residents kept on lockdown? Are they allowed to go freely or it be monitored?
They can go in and out. They go to
There's a
work.
lot of stores around there that sell alcohol.
We've been
The temptation
there,
is
we've
great.
been there since 1991, and those stores have been there, and we
But
recognize.
this is something new that you're starting. This is something new. That's what I'm saying. With children, that these are my concerns.
The treatment center that we operate there is not new. That's been
No,
there
no,
since.
no, I understand this. I'm talking about for women. Let's not change the subject. It's about women with little children under the age of 5 and under. These are my concerns, okay?
But I think it's also important to remember the people that are in this center have come from the treatment center. So they've been part of this program.
So I would ask, if this passes, that you would get together with our tree advisory board, since you're gonna put some shrubberies and fencing up there to protect the kids, so to speak, which I don't think that will do it, but we have a tree advisory board, and I wish you would speak to that committee
We
as well.
absolutely would do that.
Okay, that's all I have, Mayor.
Mayor.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening. If this is approved, when are you planning on starting construction and completion? Do you know?
We would start it within the next probably 6 months.
In completion, I mean, a couple years, a year and a half?
A year.
Okay. I reached out to Chief Evans, just wanted to get calls for service and let the council know and the public. So 501, let's hear, 501 Broadway only had one call for service in 2 years, which I think is phenomenal. 205 Bridge Street had one call only in 2 years. And then 1621 Theodore had 47 in 2 years, but it was various calls, unwanted subject, a disturbance, fire department calls, suspicious person, and a theft. So I don't think it's too far out of hand, 47 in 2 years. So I thought that was pretty good. I did have a few people call me today. They were like, why do they want to do this in Joliet? Well, I think it is absolutely needed. I had reservations earlier on, but it's absolutely needed. I think there's transportation there, there's jobs, and I think it's needed here in Joliet. So,
Thank you,
Cameraman.
Mayor. Joe, don't forget, these won't all be Joliet residents. These will be from all over. That's
Half of the
also
people that we serve are residents of Joliet. We serve 500 or 600 people a year. Half of them are residents of Joliet. 75% of them are Will County residents. Majority of the people that we serve there will be Joliet residents.
So what's your date of completion?
Sure. We're probably going to spend a couple of months preparing the drawings, contract documents, submitting those for a building permit. After that point, we'll get bids, and it'll probably take a year for construction. So
Starting
construction
when?
construction can easily start in the next 3 months. We're going to go through a process of preparing the architectural drawings and then going through the building permit process. That's probably going to take about a month. I believe building permits in Joliet are taking 4 to 6 weeks currently, so that's probably going to be the biggest part of the time frame.
Your Honor,
Yes.
just one quick. As I said here, and I'm quite familiar, Paul, you know, so. But to make a city great is its people. That is our most valuable resource. And when you invest in people, it lifts. So to have a program like this, when we all know, sitting in this room, there is a need. There is a big need for this. And so for me, providing resources that will stabilize a family moves to stabilizing a community. A community moves to stabilizing and making a city great. So, having said that, I see your vision in this. I see it. And I will, and I'm supportive. I am very supportive of it. And so, but that is the way we have to look at things like this. You know, people make our city great. And we must invest in them. And so, well, that's my spiel.
Yes. Certainly, it's a good mission. And it's a mission that your organization's been committed to for 50 years, you say? It's not your fault that you can't focus strictly on Joliet people because the state won't allow you to. That's not how the grant works. Am I correct in stating it that way? Correct. If they did allow that, you would focus on Joliet. And we know that there's enough substance abuse problems in people's lives that the city alone could fill those 7 units. But you're not allowed to do that. And I want to make that clear. I also want to make it clear that you own the property currently. You are not buying property like what they tried to do at the hotel, right, a few years ago. You own it already, and you have no intention of putting it up for sale because you want to use it for your mission. So, and it is a great mission. You know, these women and their children need the help. I only have one other question. With the success you've had for 50 years, and I think this is going to be, I believe this will be successful. This will be a good addition to the mental health community. Do you have plans to open up other ones in other cities within Will County?
No.
So if you expand again later, you want to expand only in Joliet, or you would expand to another community?
Our commitment is to is to Joliet and the community. That's the majority of the people we serve. That's the history of the organization. It was founded by people that were public officials that were interested in seeing that there were services available for men with an alcohol use disorder back in 1971. We have a great deal of respect for those people. We appreciate the effort that they put in, and personally feel a commitment to seeing that lives on for them. Those people stepped up in a big way, and we've had a good relationship with the city of Joliet for 50 years. You guys have supported us in our move from Second Avenue, the house over there, to our location at 1621 Theodore Street, to acquiring the A-frame building that was there, that was part of the original Howard Johnson Motel. You know, I think there's an opportunity here to really, this is going to be a life-changing experience for the kids and the moms that go through this program.
The reason I ask, though, is, but at least 50% of them aren't going to be Joliet residents, so why wouldn't we expand this program to other communities?
Why wouldn't we?
Yeah. If you ever expand, maybe you won't expand.
I don't.
I'm curious about the intention or mission statement moving forward. You're saying we're committed to Joliet, but this program is not a Joliet program. They can come from anywhere in the state.
Well, most of the individuals that we serve would be Joliet residents.
But when we talked,
or will count.
Right, but you can't prioritize it that way. The state won't allow you to.
Right, you're absolutely correct.
So if there's a list of 75 people out of Cook County that get on there first, we got to get through that before we hit a Joliet resident. Am I correct? Under the state strictures.
No.
You can jump a Joliet resident ahead of everybody else?
We could do that, yes. We're not required to take somebody outside of our community. Everything else being equal, the state has priorities on the population that you serve: women with children, pregnant women.
But you can focus on Joliet residents if you have enough to fill it.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's a different thing than I was told.
That would be an operational decision that we would be able to make. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This would be for Jim Torrey, potentially. Jim, being that they own the land, all the land we're speaking of here, and they're already operating similar facilities, do they even need to be in front of us?
Yes, because they're expanding their current operation, so,
But wasn't this zoned for them to have this land available to them to do this? Back, I don't know, 20 years ago or whenever?
underlying zoning does not permit this use, that's why you need those special, approvals, in this case, variation of use, special use permit, and then the added PUD, because you're talking about a multi-family product.
Okay, thank you.
Call the question.
Is there a motion to approve Council Memo 133-23 ordinances associated with the plan unit development of Stepping Stone subdivision?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Been motion and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Coleman?
I'm not against the program, okay? Again, this is a safety issue for me. I hope it works out very well, and you're coming back and say you were wrong, Councilwoman Coleman, but I'm gonna have to vote no.
Councilwoman Reardon?
I'm thrilled to vote yes.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
I am excited, yes.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-1.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Very much.
Good luck.
Council Memo 134-23, an ordinance amending Section 31-70 of Chapter 31 of the City of Joliet Code of Ordinances, Utility Billing Procedures. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 135-23, an ordinance adding Section 31-75 and Section 31-36 to Chapter 31 of the City of Joliet Code of Ordinances, Utility Billing Payment Plans and Leak Credits. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Clement.
Yeah, before I vote, I just want to thank Kevin Singh for putting all this stuff together. And I think this is good moving forward for both of those ordinances, but I vote aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Ditto, Kevin, as to what he said. This is great, and I can't wait to tell some of the residents about it. Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under resolutions, Council Memo 137-23, a resolution authorizing the renewal of the Will County Cooperative Police Assistance Team Interagency Agreement. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 138-23, a resolution approving the dedication of a 25-foot wide public utility and City of Joliet drainage easement located at 3050 Ring Road. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 139-23, a resolution authorizing approval and execution of a transfer agreement for the transfer and assignment of a certain easement right-of-way and sewer line pursuant to an intergovernmental agreement. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 140-23, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an agreement for the sale of real property at 607 Collins Street. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is the city manager's report.
Yes, I'd like to briefly thank the fire and police department and Rendell's Towing. There was a boat that was sinking across from City Hall at the free wall. And they worked it out with, so the police and fire department got involved, and Reynolds Towing was gracious enough to go and pluck that boat out of the water before it continued to go all the way down. So again, I want to thank the folks for doing that for us. So again, a shout out to Reynolds for donating the towing to get that boat out of the water so it didn't become a hazard to others. Thank you.
Jim,
Yes, sir.
was it at the conclusion of a 3-hour tour?
Oh, yeah, there's a ship of fools out there.
Next is new,
Gilligan, you know. That's Gilligan, better known as Gilligan over there.
next is new business, not for final action or
Joe,
recommendation.
Mayor, real quick, Jim, I know I brought up before, can you add it to your list? A commercial sidewalk sweeper? I know we spoke about it. We can look into that. And then secondly, I noticed the street lights, the bottom base, I think from the snow plowing, years of snow plowing, all that paint is chipped off. I think those could be removed, maybe we can have them repainted. But if you go around the city and take a look, all that galvanized metal is, it's all flaked off, all the green paint. So maybe we can look into that, clean things up a little.
Okay.
Thank you. Sure.
Caesar? Larry?
Nothing.
Terry?
Nope.
Jan?
No.
Sherry?
No, thank you.
Nothing.
Did you want to present your?
I'll do it at the end.
Okay. Next is public comments. Is there anyone that would like to speak under public comments?
Good afternoon, fellow council people. Betty, I want to say, first of all, it is so great to see you here and to know that you are not going to seek re-election. It's just, I hope future, lots of luck and good health, as good as possible for you. And as far as all the other members with the elections coming up, good luck in your guys' election, Mayor, Bob, Norton, everybody, and Larry, good luck in your elections. Just want to say that before my time gets up. But first of all, two I want to talk about. I've brought it up before about my post office issue with my mail. I talked to my Elwood post office, and they said that they got a call from the city of Joliet, and Shauna had mentioned to the city, told the city that the mailboxes have to be on the east side of the road. It's opposite the side of the road of our houses. Now, I went out and tried to, okay, let's just see what it'd be like if I have to go across the street and get my mail with this truck traffic. I got some pictures here. I go out across the street. I got a semi goes right by me within 1.5 feet from me. Passes right by me, so close to me, I can read the letters, everything. That is truly dangerous. I don't know. You know, I am not going to go get a post office address and have to go to the post office to keep getting my mail. It's dangerous not only for the U.S. Postal Service to deliver our mail, but it's also dangerous for me to get my mail now. And I do not want to think about changing my addresses to a post office box number because of this. This should have been thought through before all this stuff was approved for this Hobo Road Bridge project. Obviously, you guys did not get a hold of the Elwood Post Office and get converts with them about it. Second of all, Sunday I go out and I find drag racers. It's warming up again. The drag racers are coming back out. I ran into these drag racers twice on one day. I called the Joliet police. They couldn't get out there right away. By the time they got out there, the 3:30 hour, the drag racers were gone. But then later on the night, 6 o'clock hour, they come back. The drag racers come back because the Joliet police have left the area. I called Joliet police again. They say they can't get nobody out there because all the police cars are tied up. They're out on calls. So I can't get nobody out here to get these drag racers at 6 o'clock hour. Meanwhile, I got on the phone with Will County Sheriff to see if they can help. You know, since Joliet's too tied up, why don't the Will County Sheriff come out and help? Because this used to be their district anyway that they used to cover before all this center point development came. Used to be Will County Sheriff we called. Will County Sheriff, of course, is not their jurisdiction. But I was on the phone, I'm going down Laraway Road. Lo and behold, I got 2 of these drag racers following me. And I was gonna go pull in the gas station at 53 at Laraway Road, but something told me, and I talked to the Will County Sheriff person, I agreed to follow, just go right straight to the Will County Sheriff's office. I have this drag racer following me. I pull in the Will County Sheriff, they honk their horn at me, rev their engines, go by me, turn around Cherry Hill Road, turn around, go back to the BP gas station at Briggs and Laraway there, sit at that gas station, watch me for a little bit, and then they leave. I had to sit at the Will County Sheriff's Station till Joliet Police, the Will County Sheriff got a hold of Joliet Police and get Joliet Police out there to make sure these drag racers weren't still out there to harass me. And I had to sit there and wait till the Joliet cop came up to the Will County Sheriff's Station and tell me it was all right. Officer Miller came up there and told me they were gone. I mean, yeah, see, my time's up already. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
I just have a question.
Name and address, please, sir.
Say that again?
Name and address, please.
Patrick O'Connor, 3069 Woodside Drive, Joliet, Illinois. So right behind Louis Joliet Mall, you guys were talking about putting a mall over there. I'm trying to understand why you guys want to put a mall, or not another mall. Can't talk right now. Another hotel over there in Ridge Road. You guys already have 3 hotels right there, plus there are 2 more across the street. So why do we need to add another hotel over there? I mean, we could put more money into the mall. We put more money into the abandoned stores. That's the only question I have: is why do you guys want to put another mall or another hotel over there in that abandoned spot?
Thank you. You talk to staff after the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
How y'all doing, council? So here I am. I come in here and I'm ready to, kick up a little dust, but then I see how y'all operating. Y'all talking to each other, you're respecting each other, you're giving your opinions on why you vote in a certain way. And this is what y'all should be doing every day. Every day that y'all go work for the city, this is what the citizens deserve. Ms. Gavin gave her reasons. Ms. Reardon gave her reasons. Ms. Quillman gave her reasons, and nobody got upset with the other about how they felt or what they decided to vote on. This is what I respect about y'all job and what you're doing. So the other day, when I spoke about Mr. Mudron, I get a phone call, private call, whatever. It was comical because they told me people like me end up dead for speaking on situations about him. Okay, I said something to my family, said something to a few other people. If I wanted to file a report, who do I call? Okay, who takes that report? I don't have a single shred of truth that he was behind anything. Nothing. But I could have very well took that because coincidentally the day that it happened was when I spoke about him, have Ms. Gavin take a report in my living room and then accuse you of doing some nonsense where there's no single shred of proof to what has happened. You cannot operate like that. That's anarchy. And if he would have done that to one of y'all, I would feel the same way. So for people to say that the mayor or anybody else is putting me up to say things, you really don't know me. I do my research, I like to debate, and you execute your key points. That's it. He hasn't had a single thing to do with nothing I come up here to say, none of y'all for that matter. But you have to learn to operate, whether you like somebody, leave the stuff in-house if y'all having disagreements. It's not for the public. But in the public, this is what y'all should be giving them. This right here. I looked at that state report. You said that Sean Conley's report was biased. Okay, so I took it out. But if you look at what the state police said, they saying a crime's been committed. They don't have any skin in the game. They're a completely independent entity. So why then do we ignore that? They have no skin in this game at all. You cannot ignore that. A crime was committed. Why does a guy need to say, stick to the story? I'm saying stick to the story because the police are investigating us. We took down a bank and we the suspects. So you need to stick to the story so we don't go to jail. That's the only way I'm texting somebody, stick to a story. So yeah, to ask me to ignore that is asking me to ignore my God-given common sense. A crime was committed, but to what degree? So it's on y'all to figure it out. Okay, you got an election coming up, and I hope everything works out for everybody, but you cannot have people in these high-ranking capacities doing these kinds of things. This is how people go to jail for stuff they didn't do. Does that not bother anybody up here? And this happened to a mayor. Another citizen would have never withstood that. They'd be in prison right now fighting to get out. So I'm gonna leave y'all with that, and I hope y'all continue to work like you work tonight, no matter what the election outcome is. I know we haven't always agreed on things. I know I get under people's skin, but I'm gonna give you a hint. You wanna deal with me, argue the facts, or be like Ms. Reardon. I can't get to her because she doesn't say anything. She does not give me anything. All she does is look at me. She gives body language sometimes, but she stops short of saying anything. Y'all should try it.
Thank you.
Next is mayor and council comments.
Joe, Betty, Caesar, Larry.
Too early to say happy Easter, too late to say happy St. Pat's Day. I got nothing.
Terry? Jim?
No.
Sherry?
No, thank you.
I'll make this quick. I'm going to do an abbreviated version tonight. I put this off the last couple of meetings because of time constraints, but I gave a State of the City speech about a month and a half ago. There's some information I want to share with the council and with the people of Joliet. I'm gonna abbreviate that the speech I gave was about 35 or 40 minutes. This will be half that. But, when I got elected to the city council with Councilman Hugg and Councilman Morris in 2011, the city of Joliet was facing a $27 million annual deficit. That was the state of the city back then. Where our finances are today versus where they were in 2011 or 2015 are off the charts, especially coming through the COVID pandemic. And I want to give a real brief rundown on where we're at today. In 2014, we collected $19 million in gaming revenue. Last year, $13.8 million in gaming revenue. And that's important because back in 2014, as many of you know, we were living off that gaming revenue. That went directly to our operational funds to manage the city. We've seen a decrease in that, but a significant decrease, and yet the city is doing better financially than we were 7 or 8 years ago. Hotel motel tax for 2014, $2.3 million. Last year, the city collected $4.5 million. We basically have doubled that. Real estate transfer tax in 2014, $1.6 million. Last year, $3.4 million. We've more than doubled that in 8 years. Building permits. In 2014, the city collected $1,076,000 from the issuance of building permits. Last year, the city collected $7.4 million. It's 7 times higher than where it was in 2014. Sales tax in 2014, city had collected $44.8 million in sales tax. 8 years later, the city is $62.5 million. It's a 28% increase in 8 years. Our general fund revenue, 2014, Joliet collected $167 million. In 2022, the city collected $241 million. That's a 30% increase in 8 years. Our reserve funds, in 2014, the city had $52 million in reserves. 2022, this is after the pandemic, after the shutdown, the city has $80 million in reserves. It's a 34% increase. And then finally, estimated assessed value of property, it's up another 10% last year. In the last 8 years, on average, property in Joliet has risen in value 54.2%. So it's a credit to the council members who are here to get this done, to see how far the city's come in such a short period. So I talked about, in the speech, about how we did this, and there was a number of things. I talked about the ultra-aggressive approach that I think I brought as mayor to economic development. I talked about Councilman Hugg, your idea for an economic development committee that the city never had before, and for an economic development director. We established that position 8 years ago for the first time in the history of the city, and I think the results speak for themselves. I do want to point out, just to keep people apprised of the way business used to be done in Joliet, the Economic Development Committee that you chair, Councilman, meets in public. The media is present. The agenda is published. Members from our community are able to attend the meeting or listen to it online. Everything is discussed openly and publicly. Prior to 2015, that's not the way the city of Joliet ran. There was a CARB committee, which is called the Committee to Attract and Retain Business. This was a committee set up by the mayor. When we were here as Mayor Girardi, it was not, none of the members were approved by the city council, unlike the Economic Development Committee. It was, no council members were members of the CARB committee. They met in private. There was no media allowed, no public allowed, no public input. No one knew what they were talking about. That's how deals were done in Joliet prior to 2015. We changed that, and now the transparency and the openness, not only is it better government, but it's led to the growth and really the revitalization that we've seen in Joliet the last 8 years. I'm going to go down a number of a short list. I couldn't talk tonight about everything that's been done in the last 8 years, but the new courthouse downtown, the Hobolt Road Bridge, the Cullinan property at I-80 and I-55, that includes Hollywood Casino relocating to that property and staying inside Joliet. The prison redevelopment, we talked a little bit about that earlier. The development in the south of Joliet, Amazon, IKEA, Harbor Freight, the North Point development, Lion Electric. I brought in Amazon because I think, I've said this a little bit in a couple of forums. Prior to 2015, prior to Amazon coming to Joliet, we heard a lot of complaints, valid complaints about the type of jobs that were being brought into the region, the temp jobs, employees being laid off prior to qualifying for any type of benefits. Amazon really did change the scene in that southern area. I was asked earlier today if the city of Joliet was responsible. We weren't. The market took care of this. Amazon at the time was paying $15 an hour. They were paying insurance for their employees. They had matching 401k contributions, and they had matching college contributions. And it forced the other warehouses and other logistics coming into Joliet. They had to raise the bar if they were going to get employees and take them from Amazon. if they were going to compete with Amazon. So, you know, just yesterday, I was out at the Cullinan property at I-80 and I-55. Harbor Freight has 2 billboards on I-55 asking for employees, and they are starting pay at $21.50 an hour. It's starting pay. It's a far cry from what we heard 8 or 10 years ago about the warehouse and how the way workers are being treated. So the North Point development, of course, it's a $1 billion development. We've all talked about that. Lion Electric, it's the first electric bus manufacturing plant in the United States. That came last year with the help of Governor Pritzker. Joliet was in a nationwide competition with other sites. The finalists were Joliet and a site in Texas, and our city won. We won a nationwide search to get that project here in Joliet. The $1.4 billion, which has been committed to I-80, we all agree, I think that that's 20 or 30 years late, but thank you to Governor Pritzker and the state of Illinois, it's coming. We saw the beginning of it last summer. You're gonna see it moving forward. A lot of new interchanges built at every Joliet intersection. Excuse me. I talked about the evolution of the Joliet Mall. Even with 2 of the major stores closing, the mall is still going strong, and we've seen plenty of activity both in and outside the mall. Benny's, Chick-fil-A, Raising Cane's. Down the road, the Costco project, Olive Garden. There's new restaurants that are gonna be announced in the next year coming to that project, so it's been a great success story. In the last 8 years, there have been 4 corporate headquarters which have relocated to Joliet. And I would challenge anyone to find a period in this city's history when we had 4 corporate headquarters come to our city. Cadence Logistics, M2M in Motion, Illinois Marine Towing, and GP Transco. The water project, which we all took part of, this is a legacy project. We have put our city on a trajectory that 50 years from now, when this is paid off, we are gonna have cheaper water than anyone in the Chicago region. So credit, most of the council was a part of that. Credit council and staff who worked hard to make that all happen. So again, just with what happened last year, I touched on it really quickly. Hollywood Casino was a major announcement for our city. They were going to move, and we knew when their license became transferable that they were leaving that location. Keeping them in Joliet was a huge coup for our city, and also a huge coup for the project at 80 and 55. It is an anchor project, and it makes everything work at that site. Tony's Finer Foods has been a great addition to Jefferson and Larkin. That piece of property sat vacant for many years, the old Kmart. Thank you to Tony's and the other outlet stores that are coming to that plaza. The Northridge Plaza at Theodore and Larkin also has seen a renaissance with Vaza Fitness and Portillo's and new properties or businesses coming to that area. Of course, Olive Garden we announced earlier in the year. And then I'll leave on this note, something that I never thought I would see in our city's history. We were ranked by MoneyGeek.com for cities over 100,000 people across the country. We were ranked the 8th safest city. It's a big kudos to our police department, to Chief Evans, and of course to the council that hired 70 new police officers in the last 2 years and made that a priority coming out of COVID. So that's about as quick as I can deliver the speech, but I do want to thank my peers on the council. I want to thank Mr. Caparelli, Ms. Spano, and our staff for the hard work we've done. I think it's clear the trajectory that this city is on right now, and I'm excited to see where we go the next 8 years moving forward. So thank you. I hope I didn't take too much time. Thank you, guys.
And Mayor, if I might, you may be aware of this. For those interested, Olive Garden's official grand opening is April 7th. And I could say there's non-disclosure agreements. There are a number of new restaurant projects that are going to be announced at that site. That was a great governmental cooperation between our city and the city of Plainfield. We've really shown ourselves to be leaders in the region on a lot of different levels. We're working with the federal government to get funding for the interchange at 55 onto the Cullinan property. We work with state government to get $1.4 billion committed to I-80. We've worked with Will County government to get a courthouse built downtown to exchange property to reopen Chicago Street. We're working with Minooka, Shorewood, Shanahan, Romeoville, Crest Hill,
who am I forgetting on the Water Commission, the Grand Prairie Water Commission? Rockdale, Lamont is coming to the table, all those partners, and really a credit, again, to the city council for the forward thinking. We were big enough to do the water project on our own. We understood as a council, the more people involved, the cheaper it's going to be for everyone. And we were able to sell that project to a number of our neighbors, with more still coming forward. So I really am proud of the way the city took leadership, certainly during the COVID crisis. Before Will County was giving vaccinations, our fire department was doing it on a volunteer program with Councilwoman Quillman and local doctors at Joliet West High School. We showed it throughout the dark days of COVID, when I was doing a press conference almost every day, trying to pass along the information I had from the state or federal government or from different branches of local government, the school districts, the hospitals, et cetera. So I think there's a lot of things for all of us to be proud of. And of course, I think the trajectory the city's on is terrific, and looking forward to seeing what's coming in the future.
Councilman Hogg, did you say April 7th was, because I heard April 10th. It was all in the, it was in the patch, and it was announced on the radio this morning, it's April 10th.
Maybe I remember the wrong date, but yeah, okay. So
And I thought, because that's my birthday, so like, wow. Sorry to correct you, but that's what it was.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I didn't want people to go there on the 7th and they weren't open.
The motion is seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.